So Mike, I just have a question for you from that last meeting. As a linesman, if both the linesmen have the punch back because they're both guys are off the, both on both sides are off the line and it's a running play, how do you not flag that? You guys, somebody talked about how if it doesn't have an impact, don't throw the flag, but somebody's going to throw it, right? Because we're both punched backwards.
Yeah. Well, first off, if you're both punched backwards, it could be okay if there's just a quarterback and running back. But if you definitely have three, in the backfield, and you both clearly have the wings off, you actually, if you're both punching, you've got to flag it because then you lose credibility. A coach is going to see it on film and he's going to, he could actually send that play to Jared and say, what the heck? They're both punching back here and there's two running backs and a quarterback. Why did they ignore this? And so it's, your point's well taken. If it's clearly a foul and you clearly have both, neither one of you is saying your guy's on the line, you're going to have to throw it. And
okay. Yeah, I didn't get to chime in and I wanted a clarification there. So thank you very much.
All right, guys, y'all hear me?
I can hear you too.
All right. Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
Joel, Mike, Kurt, Mike, Rich. All right. Hey, guys, how we all doing? So yeah, no agenda this week, mainly because I wasn't lazy. It's just difficult to come up with agenda items for the week after, then the summer when there's no stuff going on. So let's just dive into it. All right. So valuations. Mike Graff, I see you're here. Thank you. I just saw you a little bit ago.
Yep.
Evaluations. What is, and Mike, I'm gonna lie, or not gonna lie, but this is coming from your meeting last week. What is an observer looking for when it comes to what you're looking at on the field? So the first thing I think, Mike, and please correct me if I'm wrong and join in whenever you want, is the on-field pre-game routine. When do you guys hit the field? Do you guys hit the field at 6:30, 6:45, or more importantly, 6:15? When you guys hit the field at 6:15, what are you guys doing? Are you bullshitting with your friends, or bullshitting with the guys in the crowd? Are you talking with the whoever you might want to talk to? This is important. This really is important. And when I would hit the field with my crew at 6:15, we'd hit the field at 6:15. The first thing that I would do is, we come on the crew or come on the field, and we would all meet with each coaches. We would meet with coach, the offensive coach or the home team, and then we meet with the defensive coach. And the reason we would do that, offense, defense, home team versus visiting team, is because if there's anything different that we need to talk about with the defensive coach or the the visiting team, let them know. All right. So that's very important. After we've done our pregame routine, we've talked to our coaches, we've done our thing. As an umpire, this is important for our umpire. What do? In my opinion, what I would do is I would try to watch both teams. I would try to be not in the backfield, but off to the side, watching each team for at least 2 to 3 minutes. We don't have a lot of time because when we hit the field, we're hitting the field at 6:15. 6:15, meaning, 45 minutes left on the game clock. Hit the field, we meet the coaches, and then we do our thing, and then the wings go do what they need to do, and the back judges go do what they need to do, and, everything's fine. But as umpires, we don't have a lot to do anymore because we don't have to check balls anymore, check game ball pressures. We don't have to do that anymore. But what we need to do is watch the teams preparing for what they're going to do. So that's one thing.
Walking the field.
I don't walk the field. Mike Schumacher.
Yeah.
Tell me about walking the field.
I walk the field, I move back the yard markers, and I check the 3-yard marks on each end of the field.
I'm going to be honest, I've never done that. As an umpire, I've never done that.
Yeah,
so help me out here. Maybe I'm wrong.
I would put primary focus for the umpire. Every official should do this, but an umpire should really be eagle-eyeing equipment. Look for equipment problems. First game of the season, if you see the right guard has number 46, you're going to want to mention that to the coach.
That's 9-man.
If there's issues with jewelry or other things, there's a lot of things you can clean up. So,
and I do that while I'm walking.
I would not make an umpire primary for walking the field. You can do that, I guess, but I like the umpire to be kind of in the beginning when they're not running plays, when it's more like warm-ups and stuff, just getting in the mix and looking at players on both teams, making sure there's no bans or other things that we don't need in the high school game, right? All the stuff that they let go at the higher levels.
So let's pause right there, Mike.
Yeah.
When you see a player that has an obvious issue with part of their uniform, how do you address that? Do you go to a captain? Do you go to a coach? Do you go right to the player and say, you know what? This doesn't look right.
I normally advocate going to the coach. Let the coach talk to his players. Just say, hey, coach, number 42 has a knot in his jersey. And
when do you do that?
Pardon?
I'm sorry. When do you do that?
As soon as I see it. So the coach, and maybe Kurt can chime in here, but I think a coach wants to know if you as an official see equipment problems, things that need to be cleaned up. I mean, one time I asked Pat Bolin right before the game, he had a bunch of guys with these bands wrapped around their arms, the unnecessary embellishments or whatever. And man, he just yelled, everybody that's got a band, cut them off right now. The coach will take care of it. And rather than you going from player to player and the coach going, what's that official talking to my guy about? And maybe the player being a little skeptical, believe me, there's one guy they're going to listen to. It's their head coach. And they are not going to give him any grief. If he says, get that knot out of your jersey or get your shirt tucked in or get that band off your arm, they're going to do it and they're not going to argue. So I would advocate getting the coaches involved. Okay. If the head coach is too busy, talk to any coach, but I just would, if the head coach is available, talk to him. Get things cleaned up so it's not something the crew or the teams or the coaches have to deal with after kickoff.
From what I've seen, if I see some player that's illegally equipped in the pregame, and I'm talking pregame at 6:30, right? I'm going to go find him and I'm going to say, hey, clean this up. Huh? What do I need to do? I'm going to go find an assistant coach, and that assistant coach is going to say, hey, 63, clean that shit up right now. And some assistant coaches, Kurt, I don't know where you were at, but some assistant coaches just want to be, they want to take care of all the crap ahead of time so the head coach doesn't have to deal with that stuff. That's my opinion.
Well, I've been on both sides, the head coach and the assistant coach, and you're right in a sense that as an assistant coach, you want to make sure you handle as much as you can because there's so much more a head coach has to do. But as a head coach, you want to, if an official comes to me, most likely you've already talked to the kids about their knot in their shirt or their bands or the, years ago you couldn't put the wristbands up by the bicep and the, and all that stuff. And
I think
they were told
today,
they're just 16 and 17-year-old stubborn kids that think they can get away with it. And so it just verifies the fact that, they've already been told this. So, you're going to get, most often you're going to get a good response from a head coach.
All right. Anyway, let's move on because we've got a lot of things to talk about. The other thing, as far as the on-field, let's move to penalty administration. And Mike, I'm taking a lot of this from your referee training session the other night. And penalty administration, guys, that's huge. If you fuck up a penalty administration, that's a pretty big thing, especially when it's something simple, right? So as umpires, we need to be just as smart, I'm using air quotes, smart, as the referee to know what we're doing with penalty administrations, right? And in the high school game, let's be honest, in the high school game, the offense gets really screwed when they hold. Just make sure we know what we're doing with that. So when we have a penalty administration, we walk it off. I'm going to be honest, when I walk off a penalty administration, if it's 5, 10, 15 yards, I'm walking off each yard line. I'm not smart enough to go 1, 2, or 3. You all have seen this 1, 2, or 1, or 3, 2, 1. I'm not smart enough to do that. If you are not smart enough to do that, don't do it. Just walk them off, look cool, and you'll be done. Make sense?
Yeah, if you're not sure what Tim means, that's the big number of big lines you're going to cross.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, and I never found that a very effective communication device. Usually,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Look at the umpire and go, "What are you saying?"
No. As the umpire, I would look at a wing and say, "What the fuck are you saying? 3, 2, 1, go." Okay, all right, we're gonna go.
The number one tip to get it right, because observers, and I can tell you there's a lot of groaning if you just take too long to sort through, but you never ever rush. Don't make a mistake. Just be, bang, 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 know what you're doing. But the number one thing for you as an umpire, do not minimize this. Start at the right spot.
Oh my
Almost
gosh.
Universally, when a penalty is misadministered yardage-wise, it's not because the umpire walked off the wrong number of yards. It's because he started at the wrong spot. It's supposed to be the hold was 2 yards behind the line and you start at the line of scrimmage, and so you're off. Just be positive you're at the right, because usually those wings, believe it or not, they're going to think you know what you're doing, so they're going to kind of defer to you. If you're firmly standing at a spot, they're going to accept that, yeah, that's the right place to mark it off from. And if you're wrong, the crew's going to be wrong. And the tricky situations are, you get an extra point from the 3, you get a false start, so now you're back at the 8. Now you get, an encroachment, and I've seen crews move it back to the 3. Well, of course that's wrong because it's half the distance. You should have moved it to the 4. So, the only time I've seen yardages really marked off incorrectly is typically a half the distance situation. Usually the error comes from and this is at the college level too, starting at the wrong spot.
Spot on, Mike. And Kurt, Kurt Hughes has a great question. Is it the wing's job to question or put umpire on the right spot? It is a crew decision to make sure you start and spot the ball at the right spot. That is a crew decision. So if Mike Schumacher, you're working the wing, and you're just going to go along with what Tim Nicometto, the umpire, says. Yeah, we're going to spot it here, and we're going to go. And Joel Olson, as our line judge, and I'm just using the guys across the screen, and Joel says, "Oh, wait a second, that's not from the spot of the foul. That's someplace else." Guys, you need to step up. And if you're wrong, if you come in and say, you know what, I think that should be from the previous line of scrimmage, or that's a spot foul or whatever, guys, just come in and say, wait a second. Hey, Mike Graff, as referee, shouldn't this be from the previous spot? And Mike can say, oh, no, that's not there. Yeah, we're going to move on. At least, and did I do a good impression of Mike? I think I did. And Mike's going to say, I'm a college referee. I know what the fuck I'm doing. and just, it's a crew decision. It really is. If you get it wrong, it's not the umpire, it's not the referee, it's not the line judge, it's the whole crew. Get it right. And if you're wrong, if you come in and say, you know what, I think this is this, and if you come in and say this is the wrong decision, or whatever, fine. At least you question it. You don't want to do that 95% of the time, but if something doesn't feel right, fix it. Does that answer the question, Kurt? I'm sorry. Okay, cool. All right. Anything else on penalty administration? All right. Measurements. Measurements are very, very rare these days due to 2 or 3 things. Number one is that we always, or at least we try to start in a big line. And number 2, most of our fields are properly marked, right? So if we have a measurement, and I'm asking this, so please chime in, what is the umpire's role in a measurement? What do we do? Okay. Joel?
The umpire takes the stick that you're going to actually measure with.
Okay.
That makes sense. The forward stick, I guess you would call it.
The forward stick. And when do you get that stick?
You get it when the chain crew brings it over to you.
Brings it over to you. Okay. When do you put that stake in the ground?
Usually once the line judge, once the line judge has his foot down, so he knows where to
foot down?
He usually points to it. He'll point on the yard line where the I can't remember what it's called, but it's the circle. You know.
So Joel, let me say, this is what happens when you volunteer to answer a question.
I know. I'm okay sticking my neck out.
Okay. So what do? If it's across the field, let's say the head, obviously the head linesman has the chains, right? And you are on the line judge side, and the referee says, I don't know. The referee says, yeah, let's measure it. Let's measure it. Talk me through your procedure.
All right. So the chains would come over.
Whoa. They're coming over where?
From the far side then.
And where are you when this happens?
I would be at the ball. Or on the ball. Yeah.
Okay. On the ball.
Okay. Then the line judge will he'll point to where the chain will line up straight on the yard line that the line judge comes, or the where the marker is. It's usually on a big line. And I honestly can't remember. I know it's on a big line, but I can't, it's usually the farther the line, the big line back. So then the line judge points to where it should go down. And then I would, once he has it down and we have the chains pretty well set, then I would take it from the crew member or the chain, the guy in the chain gang. And then I would be the one that brings it and like holds it, gets it so the line is straight and tight.
So Joel, I absolutely 100% appreciate you falling on the stake
Okay.
and telling me this. But Mike, if we have to spend 3 minutes figuring out how we're going to do a measurement, how does that look as an observer in the crowd?
Right. I mean, it should look choreographed, right? The line judge, not so much pointing, Joel, but will have his toe where he wants the chains to the clip to be set. Now the back judge and you as an umpire can make sure this happens. If the back judge brain locks, the back judge is going to be holding the ball. He should be getting the line judge to move to where he's perpendicular. Now, you can, your mileage may vary on this, but years ago, Tom Fiedler, who's the supervisor for the WIAC, he advocated that when you, the umpire, take that chain, that you stretch it on the press box side of the ball so that the press box has a clear view of where the chain is at. It's just like a courtesy for the press box.
Hey, Mike, I'm sorry to interrupt, but as an umpire, when we take that chain, do we want it stretched when we get it, or do we want to take it and wait until the referee is in position, then we stretch it?
Take it, and it's unstretched at this point. Just hold it. Then the line judge is going to say, "I'm set." Now slowly pull it out. Don't yank it because he'll tear it out of the line judge's hands and you'll have to start over. Stretch it out on the press box side of the ball. Meanwhile, now that the line judge is done, they can be clearing players away from the the measurement spots so that everybody can see. The other thing, and I have seen umpires do this, don't take the chain. I can't show everybody, but you're showing it. You want to be downfield from the chain. I've seen umpires that stand, try to picture this, they're facing towards where the chain came from. They pull the stake like this and they set it down in front of them. So they're facing the stake, but all the press box can see is their backside, right? You want to be downfield, pulling that stake and setting it. The referee will be looking from the upfield side and he'll make the call. So get your body out of the way and make sure you're working with that line judge. Like I said, don't tear it out of his hands because you're reefing on the thing. And, because we don't do it that often, we don't exactly go to clinics and practice how to do a measurement. It seems mundane, but then when you're actually out there, you'd be surprised how actually everybody has something to do. The back judge is planting the ball, referee's making the call, umpire's got the front stake, linesman's got the clip, and the line judge is keeping players clear. You're all busy. Nobody's standing around. So, but you guys are the key. Make sure you actually stretch it tight.
And let's be honest, a measurement, is that a mundane play? Is that it's second and 3, we're going to run the ball at the middle of the field and we're going to go 3rd and 7. No. When we have to do a measurement, that is a big deal for a first down. I'm guessing for the referees on the crowd in this call, and Mike, I know you referee. I think, Dave, you do. I know, Mike, you do. When we are referees, the first down is a big deal, correct? That's a big deal. whether it be in the middle of the field or, you know, first and goal versus first or fourth and 11, that's a big deal. Take your time, do it right. That's my opinion. Do it right. Because each coach, that's a huge thing. And when and if we have a measurement, I say we slow it down and make sure we do it right. Those are the plays that we need to do right. You know, there's plays that we absolutely need to do right. Measurements, penalty enforcements, and penalty enforcements. Right? Does that make sense, guys? Do it right, slow down, don't fuck it up. All right. Okay, moving on. Any questions on that? We're still on the evaluations and what the observer looks for. Ball relays. We talked about this last week. Are we the Keystone Cops or are we doing it correctly? And one thing that just makes an observer go crazy is when we are throwing the ball overhand 40 yards or even underhanding the ball 40 yards. Don't do that. Don't do that. Run in, get the ball, run it in as far as you can. And when we're windy, and let me think, Southeast Minnesota, is there a wind problem? Hell yeah, there is. Run the ball in, guys. I know there's only 5 of us on the field, but use your back judge. And us as umpires, we need to move. We really need to move. And sometimes we need to use a referee. We're going to need to use a referee. So if the ball is clearly down the field, incomplete, in high school, we don't have the ability to get a ball from a short wing, right? We don't have that ability. We need to get that ball from the original ball that went downfield. So what we've done is that back judge, hopefully he's an aggressive back judge or at least an athletic back judge, will take the ball and relay it into the umpire at maybe 10, 15 yards down. Umpire runs it in and hands it to our referee. Referee spots it and moves out. But guys, we need to be very efficient and not clumsy with our ball spotting or our ball relay. I get it. There's only 5 of us. I get it. We have to use, or at least we should use, the same ball, but we need to clean that up. The longer the throw, the worse we look.
Tim, talk about how you change your MO when either offense is in a hurry up.
I don't slow down. Just saying.
Well,
right?
what I was getting at is when a team is in a hurry up, you want the umpire basically running out to get the ball. You don't want tosses, because if you're tossing the ball and that thing ends up rolling on the ground, there needs to be more hand-to-hand work when the teams are pressing. That's when the umpire runs from side to side to get the ball.
So, Mike, let's talk about that, because I'm a little curious. Because in high school, not talking about college, talk about high school, if we are at 7:53 on the game clock, second half, right, or third quarter, 7:53, we're in a hurry up. And
no, I mean when you're under a minute and
okay.
The last thing you want to be doing is throwing the ball in a rush and the umpire's dropping the ball. Now he's got to run 5 yards to pick it up. Think about how you want to change your ball handling when either rain is an issue or you're in a hurry-up situation at the end of a half or game.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify, hurry up in the middle of a half versus hurry up at the end of a half.
I don't mean a standard no huddle or where they're trying to get we don't really see many high school teams doing the Brian Kelly thing where they're trying to get 160 plays in. I'm just talking where time's an issue. They're desperately trying to score. Maybe it's the end of the game. And you don't want to be standing out because you're bouncing the ball all over the field. That's the time to really close the guys that have the ball, run it back in and plant it. You don't give the defense a disadvantage, but don't be a clown show where the ball's rolling around the field because your adrenaline's surging and you're throwing the ball and you're dropping it. Same with when it's a real wet night. You don't want that ball unnecessarily rolling in the slop. Ask the players to hand it to you rather than toss it to you. Really shorten up the throws. Do everything you can to reduce, the work you have to do, because you're going to do a lot of work to keep the ball as dry as possible anyway.
Thanks, Mike. And if us as umpires ever decide in a wet game, thank you for putting that out, wet, snowy, and, where we work, yeah, it's going to be icy. It's going to be snowy. If you decide this ball is not playable, get a new ball. Get a new ball. It's not a big deal. Hold on. And you know what? The quarterback is like, thank you. Center's going to say, thank you. Get a new ball. Not a big deal. If we have to reset the play clock to 25 or 40, would we reset it? No, 25. Reset it to 25. And if that coach on offense says, "Oh, you messed up my play drive," coach, we gave you a new dry ball. Done. And I have no problem with that. I've done it many, many times, both in high school and college, and said, "Let's get a new ball. I don't like this ball. Let's get a new ball." And I've worked in many muddy games, whether it be a 7th grade game or a varsity game. The ball is just muddy, and our towel, which is black or white, and we're trying to clean it off, and it's just not good enough. Get a new ball. Just get a new ball. Not a big deal. That's my opinion.
Yeah, you're allowed to take an official's timeout to get a dry ball, and my experience was if anybody was going to get upset, it was that defensive coach when you're stopping the clock.
And again, Mike, we reverse it. We'll do the same for your team when you're on offense.
On a rainy night, I always told the head coaches that was a possibility. And I said, it's going to be very frustrating for you if you're on defense, but I'll do it for you if you're on offense. And every coach was like, okay.
Okay. Yep. That's exactly right. I'll do it for you on offense. Oh, okay. Because let's be honest, most of the teams that we work with, players go both ways. They play both offense and defense. Okay. Anything else on ball relays? Any questions, guys? Game clock. This is another thing that the observer will look at. If we F up the game clock, that's a big deal. Us as umpires, and I'll be honest, I shouldn't say never, but I rarely, if ever, stop the clock as an umpire. I just don't. I got other things to worry about as far as stopping the clock. Primarily because when do I know that the clock should stop? Sometimes I just don't know. However, we as umpires sometimes are looking at that one clock that's facing us, and we know when that clock should start or stop. Would everybody on this call agree that the game clock, not play clock, game clock is a crew decision? Is it a referee? No. Is it a back judge? No. It's a crew decision to make sure that we know when that clock should and should not stop or start. We all need to make sure of that.
Hey, Tim, that raises an interesting point. I'm just thinking O2O.
Hey,
how much communication, can there be too much communication? Like you say, it's a crew decision. Can there be too much communication on the O2O, or is it just?
Absolutely, there can be.
Okay.
Absolutely. when we're communicating over the O2O, if the game clock should have been stopped and then on an incomplete play or incomplete pass, right? And we're at the 4-minute mark in the third quarter and the clock is running. The clock is running. And we take 1 second off. Okay. Take 2 seconds off. Okay. Take 3 seconds off. It's still running. And we're at 4 seconds. I might, as an umpire, say, hey, Rick, that clock should have stopped 3 seconds ago. Now, this is in the middle of a game. And I'm glad you're here, Mike. What are our clock operations in the middle of a game, third quarter? Are we caring about a 5 or 4 second clock differential at that point? Or are we more thinking about,
There's a rule of thumb that says 5 outside of 5, and what that means is if the discrepancy is greater than 5 seconds outside of 5 minutes left in the half, then fix it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. So if the clock ran, say, for 2 seconds longer than it should have on an incomplete pass, but there's 10, 20 left in the half, don't worry about it. Then once you're inside 5, fix everything. And that's a sort of an unofficial, so to speak, rule of thumb.
And here's what you're going to do in that third quarter. You're going to you're going to mic up or whatever to the clock operator, who is about 110 years old, all right, and say, hey, can you take 3 seconds off the clock? And 20 minutes of real time go by, right? And finally we get the clock set, and it's a 63-0 game. It is a game situation. Now, hold on now. If we're in the dome, or no, we're not in the dome anymore. Where are we at? The bank. We're in the bank. It's the 6A final championship game, and we have a tie game with 10 seconds to go in the game. You damn well better get that clock right.
Yeah, and that gets back to 5 outside of 5, right? Once you get
correct.
inside 5, tighten up. But I can tell you that I've seen from, the booth, clock errors at the Dome or at the U.S. Bank at the Prep Bowl that don't get fixed. But they're of the variety we're talking about here, where it runs when it shouldn't, but there's 10 minutes left in the third quarter, right? It's, if you can't get the word down quick enough, it just doesn't get fixed. And frankly, it really doesn't have any impact on the game. I mean, a team losing 3 seconds in the middle of the third quarter doesn't mean much. A team losing 3 seconds when there's 2 minutes left in the game, that's a big deal. So that's why the difference.
Would you equate that to when on a scrimmage kick, a punt, it bounces and it lands at the 37.5 yard line? We move it to B38. Same thing, right?
Yeah,
Big deal.
It's because there's so much time left that you don't even know who it impacts or whether it does impact anybody. A coach has plenty of time to fix it, but if you have a clock problem, with a minute left and you're the team on offense trying desperately to score, that can be crucial. Yep. So there you fix it. With that said, as an observer, if I see that, what I look for with game clock problems is not the once or twice a game. I'm looking for consistency, consistent issues where crews aren't flapping their arms when a play goes out of bounds. Nobody's stopping the clock when there's a fumble pile, things like that. That's where I would say you have to do better if you want to be considered a state tournament crew. Those are just automatic things. So when I talk about game clock issues, that's more the kind of thing I'm talking about.
So let me ask this question, Mike. So we have 75-year-old Wendell, who's sitting up in the crow's nest, who is the 45-year veteran of stopping the clock and starting the clock. Is he really looking at whoever is on the field to stop the clock? Seriously, is he? Be honest. Is Wendell stopping that clock on time?
You know, there's if you've ever been in the timing booth, it's actually not an easy job if you're distracted at all. I would say they actually, when they're watching the field, they are watching the officials, but
they are okay.
They cannot
okay.
lose their focus. You know,
Okay.
if they get distracted by anything, they mess things up.
So they are really looking at us to flap versus a ball incomplete.
You know, any veteran clock operator, including you or me, would stop the clock when we see a clearly incomplete forward pass, right?
Okay.
But where it gets tricky is when they assume the runner went out of bounds on the other side of the field and he actually didn't. That's where they can get in trouble. You know, if the judgment of the official was that he didn't step out, it can look like he did. But that's why you have to be on top of the clock. But you kind of nailed it earlier when you said if you try to fix every 2-second discrepancy throughout the game, you're going to drive everybody crazy. No coach really wants that. It's too officious.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. All right, so game clock, we're good. Fumble piles. Boy, how do we deal with a fumble pile? So we have a fumble. Team A fumbles the ball. As an umpire, what the heck are we doing? Are we just sitting back and saying, oh, there's a fumble. What are we going to do? Or, as an umpire, are we being the gopher to find that ball and find out who has the ball? What do you guys think? Me personally, if we have a fumble that's beyond the line of scrimmage, I'm going to, and it's a clear fumble, I'm probably going to go in and find that ball. I am going to go find that ball. Now, are we dropping our beanbag at that point? And I'm being honest. Are we dropping our beanbag? And this is part of, and it's already quarter to nine. I'm going to advance a little bit. When, as an umpire, are we dropping the beanbag? So this is kind of a twofer. The ball advances beyond the line of scrimmage. We have a fumble, at least as an umpire, because, you know, we're brain dead. Do we think we have a fumble and we throw our beanbag? Oh, shit. We throw our beanbag because we have a fumble, yet Dave Benson or Kurt Hughes or maybe Mike Schumacher, depending on, the line of scrimmage guy, says it was down. An umpire has a beanbag. What does the beanbag mean? I'll open it up. What does the beanbag mean on a regular scrimmage play? All right, Joel, you already were picked on once. I'm going to go to Mike. Mike Schumacher.
Oh, thank you. But you saw the ball become depossessed by the offense.
Yeah, you saw it. Was it a fumble beyond the line of scrimmage? 100%.
I'm not following what you would get. I'm not too concerned about in front of or beyond the line or behind or in advance of the line of scrimmage.
So when as umpires do we drop our beanbag? That's my question. When do we drop our beanbag as an umpire?
When you see a fumble beyond the line of scrimmage. I'm not going to nitpick whether or not I think it's beyond. If it's close, I'm going to beanbag it.
I think Mike S. nailed it actually when he said when you see the runner lose possession. Now the key to that, you being the guy that should drop it, is that you reasonably have coverage of the runner. For instance, if I have a fumble and there's 3 beanbags, that means 3 guys were watching the runner. That's at least 2 too many, right?
At least 2?
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You need, so Tim, what you're saying really is true, because when the runner's still behind the line, you're watching the blockers ahead of him. You see the ball flying out, and you're not going to beanbag it because you know the ball's out. But like Mike S. said, you didn't see him actually lose possession, so you don't know what happened. And you certainly don't know. You only drop the beanbag if you know where it was dropped, what was the yard line, because the beanbag is meant to mark a spot. And you need the spot because you might need it for penalty enforcement. So usually when an umpire is going to have a beanbag, it's going to be between the tackles. You're kind of pivoting and the runner is right where you are, and you see the guy drop the ball. You know, you almost can't help but see it. It's like it's comparable to, when do you as an umpire use the dead ball signal? Well, when the ball's at your feet, when the player is tackled and he's at your feet, yeah, raise your arm in the dead ball signal. Usually it's going to be a wing. So when you have a fumble, you drop. When you drop a beanbag, that's going to mean it's close to you, and that's going to be the time that you are going to be the digger. You know, every fumble pile has a digger, and the digger is the first guy at the pile. It's not by position. If you're the first guy, if it's 30 yards downfield by the back judge, it could be the back judge. So the first guy starts digging, and he can't be afraid to get dirty, right? If it's a muddy field, too bad. Get on your knee and get in there and start digging. Start telling players, you're out, you don't have it, you're out. Next guy running up should be flapping his arms to stop the clock. And now you need a couple guys to stay out, you know, to watch players, keep players away from the pile. If you've got 4 guys out of 5 standing at the pile, that's too many. So, you know, the fumble pile mechanics are they're just something you don't practice, but what you do is important. You don't stand back and wait for somebody else to figure it out. First guy there, and a lot of times it's going to be you as an umpire, get in there and start digging. Make your presence known so the players know you're there. Tap them and tell them, you don't have it, you're out. You don't have it, you're out. And work from there.
Couldn't agree more. If I have a pile, you know, fumble, I'm like, you're done, out. And he's going to keep digging. He's going to keep digging. And like, no, you're out, you're out, you're out. And that's what, when us as umpires, we need to be physical and vocal, very vocal, to say 63, you're out. 23, what are you doing here? Get out. We find the ball, and whoever, I hate to say the word we think, because, you know, when we think, we fuck up, but when we see the ball in possession of team A or team B, we come up and say, you know, first down, or, you know, if we're going that way, first down, or, you know, but importantly is that we can't stand around and say, right, what's going to go on?
And know who you're going to give possession to. The old, if one guy is wrapped around the ball with his torso and the other guy is reaching hands in, torso wins, right? You know.
Hey, Mike. Question. So if we have that situation and we have a pile, right, and, you know, B is going to come up with the ball, right? Do you want that B player to come up with the ball? You know, and make it very clear that B recovered the ball and
No,
say,
I don't.
take that ball. You know, what would be the proper mechanics on that type of situation?
The key mechanic for the digger is to tell his referee, who should be by the pile waiting, to say the defense recovered. You've already stopped the clock because the second guy coming in stopped the clock. Now when you say the defense recovered, I'm going to signal the other way, and everybody's going to yell and holler, and off we go. If you
Who's going to
say,
signal? I'm sorry to interrupt, but who is going to signal? Is it going to be the U, or is it going to be the referee that's going to signal?
Not the U. You don't want the digger signaling. You want, if the referee's there, have the referee do it. If you're the only one there, then you have to signal, but that shouldn't happen in the typical situation.
Okay, so we want the referee signaling.
Yep. Yeah, it's not a race to see which of us can signal. You're relaying the information to the referee. If you tell me, Mike, the offense got it back, then I will start the clock and signal the next down. What you can do when they all get up is, if you know who recovered, you can point to the recovering player so the statisticians know who recovered the fumble. That's sort of a courtesy. But I think, Tim, it's 8:52 here. I'd really like to hear you go over the goal line stuff.
Yep, we're going to get to that right now.
Yeah, that's such an important thing for you guys to do right.
Yep, thank you. So goal line. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, going to the goal line. So goal line. All right. So we're inside of the 5-yard line. We're at third and goal at the 4-yard line. All right, or maybe even let's go 3rd and 6 at the goal line. All right. Me as an umpire, I am not setting up on that goal line because the goal line is 6 yards. I'm either going to set up in front of the goal line or behind the goal line. And the reason that I'm going to do that is to make sure that my wings can see the goal line. That's number one. Number two, if it's a run, right? So it's, what did I say? Let's just go 2nd and 6, 2nd and goal at the 6-yard line. And we have a run off tackle, and it ends about the goal line, at about the goal line. What I am going to do as an umpire, the only thing that I'm going to do as an umpire is find the ball and pin it. That's it. I'm going to pin the ball and say, I've got the ball. And I'm going to say it very loudly. I've got the ball. And I don't give a shit where I have the ball. I'm going to pin the ball and say, I've got the ball. Now, when I pin the ball, that's when my wings have to earn their money and come in and say, whether it's in the end zone or out of the end zone, where that ball is. I've got the ball right here. I am not going to give a signal to Mike or Dave, Mike Schumacher in this point, because you've been a line judge or head linesman in the past. I'm going to say, I've got the ball. I'm going to pin it. I am not going to give any signals. I'm not going to give anything else other than I've got the ball. I'm going to pin it. No matter if it's 4th and goal, 3rd and goal, whatever it is, I've got the ball. If it's a fumble, okay, if there is a fumble, Mike Graff, you may want to correct me on this. There is absolutely no way I'm dropping my beanbag.
Right. If you drop your beanbag and meanwhile Benny has thrown his arms up for a touchdown,
there's no way I'm doing that.
Now you've got what the coaches are going to view as conflicting calls. So get the car started. Don't bother showering after the game. Just head on out.
Just don't drop your beanbag, even if you know 100% it's a fumble beyond. And leave that blue bag in your belt. But I'm just pinning the ball. That's it.
One thing I'd like to emphasize or add to what Tim is saying here, you know, there were controversies in the MIAC years ago that all brought this to the fore. But by finding the ball, you're not telling Benny and the other wings, this is where it is. Benny might come in and say he was stopped before that. The ball's on the 2-foot line. That's okay. That's not a problem. You're
Yep.
showing where you found the ball. And if some offensive player says, what the hell, it's laying on the goal line, you say, this is where I found it. The wing saw it at the half-yard line. You
Yep,
know, you
100%.
yeah, you are doing the right thing by finding the ball. Now, if Benny is strongly coming in saying he's got a touchdown, now you can relax because now you want the ball, but you can be like, okay, fellas, I need the ball. We've got a touchdown here. Whereas when nobody knows yet and the wings are charging in and they're like, where's the ball? Where's the ball? You find it, and where you find it, you plant it. Don't pick it up. Plant it right where it's at, and then let the chips fall where they may. There's where Benny and Mike Schumacher, who's been moved from the U back to the wing.
Back to the wing? Whoa, 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 whoa. You got demoted?
No, he's an umpire now. He does a really nice job.
Okay.
But you know what I'm getting at, guys. I've heard people, we heard in a different meeting that an umpire expressed that he was a little nervous about finding the ball because he wasn't sure if it was a touchdown or not. That's irrelevant until you know. If the wing flat out says I've got a touchdown, okay, you're done. Now you don't have to wrestle to get the ball, but otherwise find it, pin it, and then let the wing make the call whether that's the right spot or no, he was short. But most of the time, if they come running in and asking you where's the ball, where you've planted, where you pin it, you just made the call for them. They're going to go with what you've got. But just pin that thing like like you want to drive a stake through it and just work from there.
And as umpires, we don't have a decision. Just pin it, say this is where the ball is. This is it.
Yep.
I'm not going to look to Mike and say yeah, or I'm not going to look to Benny and say no. There's none of that shit. Just move on. All right, 8:57. Let's move on real quick. Goal line mechanics. I think we've kind of talked about that a little bit. Interception. Well, you know what? If there's an interception, any low blocks, illegal. Any low blocks, illegal. Flag it. Either offense or defense. All right, I'm moving along really quickly here. Scrimmage kick. Will they or won't they go for a 4th down? Oh, so what do you do? Are they going to kick it or not? What are they going to do? You know what? If it's too late, if you're thinking that it's 4th and 2 and they're going to go for it on 4th and 2 at the 40-yard line, stay where you're at. Don't move. Don't move. If they decide, oh, I'm going to punt it, stay where you're at. There's no need to move. No need to move. Just stay where you're at. Long field goal attempts. Okay, so in high school football, let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of field goal attempts. Maybe within the 10, 15-yard line. If there is, maybe. Most teams are going to go for it. They're not going to punt. But sometimes, and I've been a victim of this, at the 32-yard line, they decide to punt. Or, I'm sorry, kick a field goal. Well, do your best. That's all I can say is do your best. Because we need to get under the left or the right goalpost. Do your best. That's all I can say. Mike, anything?
If for whatever reason you get caught up and it's just way too late, back judge, God bless him, it's his call. He's going to have to deal with it. With a longer field goal, he's going to have a chance to move where he needs to move, depending on the flight of the ball. So it's not the end of the world. But for you to be, say, sprinting at the goal line, trying to get there when the ball's in the air, that's just going to look.
Yep. And I've heard it where on the O2Os, Rick or Jared will say, they're field goal. Tim, get back here. I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm running, and I'm looking like a fucking idiot because I'm running, and I'm backpedaling, and I'm doing this. And you know what? Shit. Now, granted, guys, That does not happen very often. It just doesn't, because it just doesn't. So do your best. That's all I can say. All right. So I do have a question. Okay. Offensive holding. I'm going to see what we have as a penalty enforcement. Offensive holding, running play when the run ends behind the spot of the foul. Okay, so the run ends behind the spot of a holding foul on a running play. Where is the penalty enforced from? Mike, you can't answer. Graf, you can't answer. Come on, guys.
Spot foul.
Okay. Schumacher? Joel?
I'll go. So if the end of the run is, let's say, at the 20 and the holding was at the 22, then it should be from the spot of the foul, which would be like the all but one.
Okay, so what if the spot of the foul is at the A 20, end of the run is at the A 15? Where's the enforcement from?
20.
Unfortunately, in high school, the enforcement spot is from the end of the run, which is way the fuck back there. Right? In high school. All right. We're at 9:02. I got one more question. Question of the night. And Mike Graf, you may have seen this if you've read. Oh, shit, you can't see that. No, you can't see it because of my background. The new 7-man mechanics for college. Guess where the umpire is moving for a 2-year experience? Offensive backfield. So the question is, doesn't matter what you answer. What do you guys think of the umpire moving to the offensive backfield in a 5-person crew?
I personally don't like it because I think that the umpire really helps control things on the line of scrimmage, like the extracurricular stuff. I really think if we move behind the line of scrimmage, that you'll miss that voice. And I know a lot of guys say, well, you can still come in and do that. But I just think, I think that especially like with the linebackers and some of the D linemen, I talk to them a lot. So I just feel like if you build a relationship with those guys, and then I think it helps a lot in game management. That's my opinion. And I think that
I agree.
The reason why we move back to the backfield is just because of injuries. But I've never really got myself into too much trouble there. So I think the advantage of us being in where we are outweighs the possibility of us getting hurt.
Agreed.
I would say that being in the offensive backfield gives us a better look at offensive holding. But being in the defensive backfield, like you said, Joel, absolutely gives us a better position to be a game manager because we are there for the bigs. However, let's say, well, we're in high school, but you know what? The NFL decided it's a good idea. So shit, maybe we should be able to do it, right?
I'll tell you one thing, the issue for umpires will be the conditioning it requires because, you're going to be moving a lot more because you're going to be dropping back. After you set the ball, you're going to drop back 12, 15 yards, and you're going to be going backwards. So a lot of guys have Achilles problems with that.
Hey, Mike,
because
I've been on the treadmill for the last couple of months preparing for this. It's going to suck.
And, there's a lot of umpires that are ex-linemen and, it would be a tough, but it has been talked about, but not in any serious way, putting the umpire back. But, with a 5-man crew, that really opens up that middle there's going to be a big bare spot there with, not a lot of official coverage there.
Plus, I've been teaching my my son, who is definitely a wide receiver, who likes to cut across the middle, to use me as an umpire as a pick. Why not? Well, we may not be there.
Yeah, it could happen.
Yep. All right, guys. I've got 6 minutes past the hour. We're beyond. This was a good communication. I think good conversation. This is our last summer training meeting. And I hope to gosh that we are going to have a football season coming up. But as we all know, I mean, there's lots of D2 and D3 and even D1 conferences that are cutting the Great Northwest Conference, which is out of Portland, as of Friday, cut all football. MCAC, which is the junior college in Minnesota, cut all football, or actually, I shouldn't say all football, all spring sports. Sorry, all fall sports. So we may or may not have football. We just don't know. And we're not ones to guess. We're not ones to think about, are we going to have football? We can hope we can, but let's just keep working at it. All right, guys? That's all I got. Until maybe September. Thank you very much for y'all being a part of this. And Mike Graff, I cannot thank you enough for being on these meetings, because some of the questions that I have, you are there to answer as the regional coordinator and as a referee for, I don't know, 60 years, 70? Okay, 20 years.
25
years. And a great reference for all of us, no matter what position you're running. Mike is the guy. So Mike, kudos. Thank you very, very much for being
glad to be part of it.
I cannot express that enough. With that, 8 minutes passed. Thanks, guys, and hope to see y'all in the field in September.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Talk to everyone.